I'm Samantha Joel. I'm an assistant professor in the psychology department at Western University. I study how people make decisions about romantic relationships. How do people choose whether to go on a first date or a second date or third date? And how do people choose when to invest in those relationships? How much time and energy to put into a particular relationship? When to meet the partner's friends and family and introduce them to your friends and family? Or leave a toothbrush at their apartment? Or plan a trip away together? And I also look at when the relationship's not going particularly well, how do people make that difficult and painful decision to end that relationship? We know that relationship quality is linked to health and well-being. So people in happy relationships tend to have better sleep quality. They tend to be more satisfied with their lives. They have lower blood pressure. In contrast, people in unhappy relationships are more prone to depression, stress. They even have lower work productivity. And so what can we do to help people build relationships that are right for them and avoid winding up in relationships that aren't right for them? Most recently, we did this big machine learning project where we looked at 43 different studies following couples over time. And we tried to predict relationship quality using machine learning, specifically random forests. And the most surprising finding there was that there wasn't any evidence of compatibility. So each partner's traits kind of coming together to form uniquely satisfying relationships. We didn't find that at all. So we didn't find, for example, that opposites attract or birds of a feather flock together or anything like that. In fact, the partner's traits, even on their own, only predicted about 5% of the variance in people's satisfaction, almost suggesting that it's not that important what the qualities are of the person who you choose. What's more important is the relationship that you build and the qualities of that dynamic itself, more so than each person who makes up that dynamic. So compatibility wasn't very important. I recently published a theoretical review paper co-authored with Dr. Jeff McDonald at the University of Toronto, and we looked at hundreds of studies on relationship decisions, and the conclusion we reached is that people aren't actually particularly choosy about their romantic partners. People generally tend to very much want to be in a relationship, and so decisions that help people to achieve that goal, that move the relationship forward, tend to feel easy and natural and good, whereas decisions that get in the way of that goal, such as rejecting partners or potential partners, tends to feel really bad. We're calling this phenomenon the progression bias, the idea that decisions that move relationships along toward commitment are the default option, and decisions to reject feel difficult and hard. I like to use that as a gateway to show people how the scientific method works, and particularly social psychological methods. So this is a topic people tend to really like. Now let's look at how the sausage gets made. Let's kind of look under the hood and how do we actually study this topic scientifically? Because even though it's a very emotional topic, it can be studied in a very objective scientific way.